Hey there, Mother Bear. You're finally on your long-awaited journey. In recent years, you had asked us so many times, why is this taking so long? Rest assured, your journey was well worth the wait and will be much more peaceful and relaxing. I know these last 2 years were very difficult for both you and Dad, as you so wanted to remain independent and do things for yourselves. You found it so hard to accept help, which us kids could never understand, because you were so generous with your own time and wanting to help everyone else. No doubt, it was your role to be caretaker for most of your life. When you spent all of your time caring for everyone else, it was hard to imagine someone else genuinely wanting to care for you. As if caring for your 3 young kids wasn't already enough, you went on to work at Green Acres Nursing Home, which is now Ecumen, for 37 years, caring for the elderly and less abled, including Dad's parents. You didn't know it at the time, but perhaps it prepared you for the toughest caretaking job of all, that of your husband after he had a stroke in 1982. You did that job for a remarkable 42 years, a job from which you could never retire. In addition to your role as mom and being a role model for your only daughter, you took on a number of roles that in your generation were traditionally reserved for the man of the house. While some might think that the circumstances never led to you developing your own identity, caring for Dad became your identity. You were his advocate. You attended to his personal needs. You were his voice and interpreter when he couldn't speak for himself or when the words just didn't come out right. You took over the finances and learned to deal with medical and disability insurance. You were Dad's extra hand and runner when something needed to be fixed, and you were the tow driver for the riding mower to the Dahlstorp Cemetery when the grass needed mowing. You were given the task of doing the portion of mowing that needed to be done by hand at the cemetery as well as at home. With regard to the cemetery, you and Dad voluntarily cared for the cemetery, as it had been abandoned by a church in the 1930s and was the burial site of many of Dad's relatives. At some point in time, there was an article in the newspaper about the 2 of you caring for the cemetery. Perhaps this is what led you to become well acquainted with the late Senator Janet Johnson from North Branch. She would go on to introduce legislation that abandoned cemeteries be cared for by the townships in which they were located shortly before her own sudden passing in 1999. For the longest time, you stayed away from modern conveniences and technology, preferring to wash dishes by hand even though you had a dishwasher at your disposal. When you got your first cell phone, you rarely used it and regularly left it behind, only to encounter instances where it really would have come in handy. When you finally gave in and started using it, you often entertained us with errant or nonsensical texts and amusing butt dials. Then there were the many times you sent us your location out of the blue, to which we often quickly responded asking you if you knew where you were or if someone had thrown you in the trunk and driven away. Silly me had always thought it was impossible to delete the Settings app, Messages app, or Phone app, but you proved me wrong. Fortunately, Google searches would teach me that the apps are also easily restored. Anyone that didn't know you would think you were famous if they went shopping with you in North Branch. While I can usually go shopping in relative anonymity back home, I felt like I was out with a celebrity when I shopped with you in town. It may be that we were stopped by one of your 40-some cousins. It could have been one of your many friends or acquaintances from the church or the community. It could have been one of your former colleagues from work. It also could have been one of your old classmates or neighbors from your years growing up in Spring Lake. As to be expected, I find myself running out of time talking about all of your endearing qualities. There are so many things that were left out. Ecumen was a fitting place for your last 15 months. You certainly left a legacy during your tenure at Green Acres and eventually allowed others to provide you with the sort of care and relief that you were able to provide for the countless residents during your career. On the day you passed, one of your former coworkers came in to say goodbye and to give you a kiss. In your last hour, your regular CNAs were there to provide you with care. They had told us they had to do good by you, as they had heard so much about the high standards you set while caring for residents yourself. My gosh, Mom, we so love you. I am quite confident we are all going to miss you a whole lot.